Tip up! Hi, are you or someone you know extremely confused at what's happening right here? Well, you're not alone. All across our great country, there are tons of people who have no idea what the fuck ice fishing is or why we do it. Every year, I get asked by tons of non-Midwesterners how this all actually works and why we willingly choose to sit on a frozen lake for 12 hours. So I decided that this year I would come up to the Northwoods and explain to all of you how ice fishing turns winter into something magical.
Let's go, baby!
But this magic is being threatened. Ice fishing only works if the ice shows up, and each year we're getting less and less ice as climate change continues to accelerate. This is the story of how ice fishing captured the hearts of millions of Midwesterners, and how we might lose an intrinsic part of our culture as our world continues to heat up. Hi, my name is Nathan Denzine, and I used to be a pretty good journalist, so you can trust me. Obviously, all of my very handsome and very smart viewers technically know what ice fishing is, but we can expand your knowledge here. Before our government stole this very land that I'm standing on, Native Americans used to fish this exact lake year-round. In the winter, they used wooden lures and spears to catch fish, lying flat on the ground underneath miniature tents. With one hand, they'd jiggle the lure underwater to get a fish's attention, and with the other hand, they'd be ready to strike with the spear, which is a practice that continues to this very day. So when European settlers started to show up here, the native populations decided to teach them how to spearfish too. And that's pretty much how people ice fished up until the early 1900s. But that all started to change around the 20th century as industrialization brought about a whole bunch of new inventions. The tip-up, aptly named for its ability to tip up, started as a home invention in the early 1900s and became a more commercialized standard product in the 1930s. Late that decade in the 1930s, 3 dudes from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin started to make tip-ups in their basement for beer money, and they revolutionized the sport. Beaver Dams are my personal favorite brand of tip-ups, and they work like this. A spool of heavyweight reel sits in the water while a rod attached to it stands straight up. The flag then sits under the bars that stick out from the rod, and if a fish takes the bait, the spool starts to move and the flag tips up in the air. It revolutionized how people fished, transforming it from a sport where a single person would be staring at a single hole to one where you could monitor multiple holes all at the same time. Other inventions around this time, like the nylon fishing line that we all know now, started to make fishing derbies possible. And fishing derbies were basically just a giant competition to see who could catch the biggest fish in a single day. Fast forward a couple decades, and then the motorized auger was invented, which made drilling holes like so much easier. Fast forward another couple of decades to the 1980s when ice fishing rods and pop-up tents started to show up, and it made ice fishing almost convenient. If you had the gear, you were able to comfortably and effectively fish in multiple spots in a single day. As of 2025, in my home state of Wisconsin, about 500,000 people ice fish every year, catching about 14 million fish per season. So what all do you need to ice fish? Well, we already talked about tip-ups or rods. You need a pop-up tent and an auger, but then you're also going to need a stock tackle box, bait, chairs, a propane heater, a bunch of warm clothes, and ideally a table to put in the tent. So how do you fish? You drill a hole, you bait your hook. Well, did you get that? He's gonna go live a long and happy life. You set your line and you wait. And while that's all still very straightforward, I still need to explain. Alright, so the first thing you need to know about ice fishing is that it's not really about the fishing. It's an activity where the how and the with who matters a lot more than the actual fish that you catch at the end of the day. Ice fishing is a communal experience. It's a group of people who decided that they all wanted to spend time together on a day where it's freezing cold outside on a lake. Really, it's just a great excuse to get outside with friends or family during the winter. But I look forward to more than just getting together with everybody. I love the pageantry involved in it. When you're done setting up, or you get a tip up, or you just haven't gotten a fish in a while, you take a sip of blackberry brandy. It's very gross, but it allegedly helps catch fish. When you aren't tending to the holes, you're sitting around and having a beer with your friends and family and talking about old memories. If you get bored and you want to move around, you can throw a football around, or maybe break out some skates and play some pond hockey, or create your own game like Fireball Luge. If it's too cold, then you head back to the tent, turn on the propane heater, take your jackets off, and play some card games. When you're sitting around and doing nothing, eventually you'll get a tip up, and if you get that, you have to scream at the top of your lungs. Tip up! Which sends everybody else into a flurry of activity around you. truly a next level adrenaline rush. When you get to your tip up, everybody in your group gets at least one chance to try to get that fish. During a successful day, everybody is going to get a fish, and it's just the best feeling. And there's also an extra element to all of this, and that's that you actually are going to catch the best fish at about 2 a.m. The reason probably has to do with like fish metabolism cycles, but for us it boils down to this. It's basically a sleepover for adults as long days stretch into long nights and you spend a lot of time together. And of course, at the end of the night, if you catch fish big enough and you get to eat them up, nothing will taste better in your entire life.
It was like sex.
At the end of the night, you leave the lake a little drunk, a little cold, very tired, but extremely happy. And this might not be the exact schedule that every single ice fisherman takes, but I bet you if you asked any of them, the sentiment would be the same. People just love the excuse to get outside and spend time together during the winter when everything else is just kind of miserable. But over the last few years, I've spent less and less time on the ice than I used to, and it's because the ice hasn't been showing up. Climate change has continued to push the first freeze of the year back to late November when I was a kid to hopefully late December nowadays, and the first thaw is coming earlier and earlier every single year. So let's look into the story of our ever-shrinking winters and what we might lose if we don't take drastic action right now. So before we dive into this chapter, I do just want to say a little thing because I know I'm going to get plenty of comments that say like, oh, it doesn't look like climate change in your video right now. And I am just here to remind you that the weather that we are experiencing right now is not climate. The weather is what we experience on a day-to-day basis, like the cold or the snow, while climate is a long-reaching look at all of those different weather events over a long period of time. Okay, let's dive in. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but climate change is getting worse. 2024 was actually the hottest year ever recorded for us, and the last 11 years have all been the hottest 11 years on record. And there's very strong evidence that climate change is continuing to accelerate, which means that this is only going to get worse as we get older. And the recent Trump administration decision to limit how we actually can regulate air pollution is not going to help us whatsoever. Almost every scientist now believes that we will go 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures, which is a limit that they had been warning about for decades. That melting, even though it doesn't seem like that much, is going to bring about permanent and irreversible change like permanently melted ice caps or extreme heat waves. The good news here is that the projected warming has gone down to in between 2.3 and 2.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, which is much lower than what scientists first feared 3 to 5 degrees Celsius of warming. But even then, 2.3 to 2.5 degrees of warming is going to bring about irreversible changes. In northern Wisconsin, where we're standing right now, winter temperatures have increased about 6 degrees and wait a minute. That's my name. Always fun to reference yourself. Anyway, to bring it back to climate change, scientists have found that winter is the fastest warming season in Wisconsin, and it's totally destroying the regular flow of our seasons. There's a number of reasons why, but the biggest ones is the lack of ice cover on the Great Lakes and the lack of snow in northern Wisconsin. Obviously, there's not a lack of snow right now. You see, ice on the lakes and snow on the ground is a really good reflector and radiates away a lot of the heat that the sun gives us. But without all that snow and ice, the Earth is better able to suck up that heat, which then raises humidity levels and acts as a blanket over everything, keeping temperatures high. I really hope the camera got that. The warmer the air, the less snow and ice there is, which makes the air warmer, and so on and so forth. That in turn hurts ecosystems as the water quality slowly degrades, and erosion on the shorelines gets a lot worse without that ice to hold all of the soil in place. But it also hurts our winter culture, especially activities like ice fishing. Economically, ice fishing is a roughly $700 million a year business, and that really helps buoy tourist towns here up north during the usually slow winter months. But warming winters means fewer days on the ice, less prized winter fish like the walleye, and it in turn really economically hurts these places. That very obviously affects bait and other fishing shops, but it also hurts mom and pop restaurants or other stores that they have in these tourist towns. And just putting aside the economics for a second, losing ice fishing would mean losing an intrinsic part of our culture that has been here since before recorded time. it would be the end of hundreds of years of fishing traditions, all the way from the spear fishers way back before history to the modern amenities that we have now. Like many consequences of climate change, though, it's not likely that, next year we're not going to get any ice out on this lake. But as climate change continues to accelerate, we can expect to have less and less and less of days just like this one in the near future. That's why when we happen to have a particularly cold and a particularly snowy winter, I make sure to get my friends up here as much as possible so that we can take advantage of it. Because with climate change, you never really know when the next day you're going to be able to get out on the ice is. Ice fishing is so much more than just an activity for masochists. It's an activity where friends, family, and an entire community get together to make memories that last a lifetime. Modern gear and equipment like this tip-up have made ice fishing a lot easier, but really this is a practice that has been around since before recorded time when Native Americans were still spearfishing this lake. It's an activity that is fully cemented into the culture and identity of an entire group of people in the Midwest. But unfortunately, climate change is threatening all of this. As temperatures continue to warm, slowly but surely the snow and ice are going away. And with it, a part of our economy and a part of our culture is going to be lost forever. And if that doesn't sound like a future that you'd like, there's actually a few things that you can do about it. If you're in Wisconsin, consider joining a local climate initiative like 350 Wisconsin or Clean Wisconsin. And if you aren't in Wisconsin, just look for your local version of these groups. They could always use an extra set of hands, some funds, or even just another name on the sheet when local governments are deciding climate policies. The other thing you can do is call your local representative and specifically ask them what they are doing to fight climate change. And if you're unhappy with the answer that they gave you, press them on it. They're your representative. And while a single voice might not change the entire world, collective action has helped move the needle in the past and will continue to move it into the future.